And today what we're going to do is embark on a journey of learning about fractions, which is one of the most important topics that you'll ever study in math, and that's the concept of fractions. So if you ever had any problems with fractions in the past, or if fractions have kind of confused you, or working problems with fractions have kind of been something that you didn't enjoy because it was confusing to you, then take a deep breath and realize you're in the right place. Just erase everything you thought you ever knew about fractions and follow me step by step through these lessons. And what we'll do is start at the very beginning and work our way up skill by skill so that you're not going to only understand how to do fractions, but you'll build your skills and you'll build your confidence. And that's the most important thing in math and in science. So what we're going to do in this section is begin by talking about a review of basic fraction concepts. By this point, you've all been exposed to what a fraction generally is, but it's always good to do a little review to solidify concepts. So in a nutshell, a fraction is basically a way for you to write a number that expresses something that's less than 1. That's what it's for. I mean, if I have a pen here, this is a pen. It's one pen, right? If I grab another guy here, I have 2 pens. And grab another one, I have 3, 4, 5, 6 pens, right? But what if I want to talk about less than 1 pen? What if I want to break this guy in half and express half of this pen? Or what if I want to cut this pen in quarters and express 1/4 of this pen? So see, those are fractions. Those are ways to write down the number to tell me when I have less than 1 whole unit of something. So you can talk about pens, or you can talk about pizzas, or you can talk about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but in all cases you're trying to write down that fraction that tells you when you have something less than 1. So if you want to write that down in words, what you might see your teacher talk about, a fraction, a lot of ways that you'll see it written down, is part over whole. Right? So you remember this from basic fractions that you probably learned earlier. You have this fraction bar, there's something on top, there's something on the bottom, and this is basically part, this is how many of what you have, and this is how many slices or divisions of something you have. And so the easiest way to really drill that in is for a simple example. So for instance, let's say that I have, you know, a pie or a pizza or something that's a circle. Could be a cake, right? So right now I have 1 cake or 1 pizza or 1 pumpkin pie, whatever, right? But let's say I want to represent something less than 1. So let's say I have a friend over hanging out with me, and so I cut this pie or this pizza or whatever it is into 4 equal pieces. So obviously I can give 1 piece to each of my 4 friends, and we'll each have an equal amount of this pizza. But let's say, just to kind of illustrate this, let's say I cut this pizza into 4 pieces, and then I give only 1 of the 4 pieces away to my friend because maybe I'm hungry and I want to keep the rest of it. So I want to give this away to a friend. So how do you write that down in terms of math, right? So the fraction, right, you would express this as a fraction because I'm not giving him a whole pizza or a whole cake. I'm giving him a part of it. What part am I giving him? I'm giving him 1 piece out of how many pieces do I have? I have 4 pieces. So this is the fraction 1/4, right? So when you have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and you cut it into 4 equal pieces, then the 4 goes on the bottom because that's how many entire pieces you have in the whole sandwich, or in this case, the whole pizza. But what I'm offering to give somebody is not the whole sandwich. I'm only giving him 1 of those 4 pieces or 1 of those 4 slices. So the part that I have is only 1 piece. So you see, this 1/4 is representing less than 1 whole pizza here, or 1 whole cake. It's representing 1 out of 4 pieces. So that's what that means. So let's say we had, as an example, another example, let's say we have a candy bar. Okay? Now this candy bar is rectangular, so I'm going to draw a nice long candy bar. You see, when you talk about fractions, you don't have to deal with circular things. It could be anything. Anything that you can cut up, you can talk about as a fraction. Now let's say that this candy bar, I again want to give some of this candy bar. I only have 1 candy bar, but I want to give some of it to a friend. So I divide it up, let's just say, into 4 equal pieces. This is 4 equal pieces. Okay? Now let's say this time I'm not terribly hungry, so I really want to give my friend most of this candy bar. So I give him this piece, I give him this piece, that's the second piece, I give him the third equal piece. And I'm going to keep this piece for myself, all right? So how much of this candy bar do I actually give to my friend? Well, how many parts am I giving him? I have 3 parts here. And how many parts, whole parts do I have in the entire candy bar? 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see, I give him 3 out of 4 pieces. That's what a fraction is. This is representing less than 1 candy bar. It's not a whole candy bar, it's less than that. I'm giving him 3 out of 4 pieces. So that's the fraction 3/4. Now is a good time to review the special names that we have for the top and the bottom of this fraction. When you have a fraction, the top number is always called the numerator. I know it's a big fancy sounding word, but it's called numerator. And the bottom number is always called the denominator. Right? You can kind of think of denominator being on the bottom, denominator on the bottom. So you can kind of get that. And then numerator is the top number. So over in this fraction, the 3 is called the numerator and the 4 is called the denominator. And so that's just a term. So what I want to do next is give you one more example with fractions just to kind of refresh your memory what we're talking about. So let's say we have another pie, because I love to eat pie. All right, and this pie, we're not going to cut it into 4 pieces like we did up here. We're going to actually cut it into 8 pieces. So the easiest way to do that is to slice it across the middle, right? And then slice it straight up and down. That gives us 4 pieces. And then to get to 8 pieces, I'm going to crisscross and slice this way, and then crisscross and slice this way. And if we count everything, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's 8 pieces of pie total. So I have 1 pie, but I'm cutting it into 8 pieces. Now let's say that I'm generous and I'd like to give my neighbor 3 of these pieces. So if this is 1 piece that I give to this person, this is piece number 2. These are all supposed to be the same size. And this is piece number 3. My question to you is, what fraction of pie am I giving to my neighbor? What fraction of pie am I giving to my neighbor? Well, what you do is you look part out of whole. How many parts, how many pieces of pie am I giving this person? I'm giving him 3 pieces. So I put my fraction bar. How many total pieces of pie do I have? I have 8 pieces. We talked about that. So it's 8. So 3/8 is the answer here. 3 out of 8 pieces. And that is mostly what I want to accomplish in this section. It's a great review of the concept of what a fraction is. A fraction is just trying to give you the means to be able to describe when you have less than 1 of something. We all know if we have one pie or 1 cake or 2 basketballs or 3 pumpkins or 5 watermelons, we know how to count watermelons. But what happens if you have less than a watermelon? What if I'm only going to give this person, 2/3 of a watermelon? That would be 2 out of 3 pieces. If I cut that watermelon into 3 pieces and give 2 pieces away, that would be 2 out of 3 pieces, 2/3. That's another fraction. In all of these cases, the numerator is the top number, the bottom number is the denominator, and this is a good introduction to fractions. So make sure you understand this topic. Make sure it's very understandable, very at the forefront of your understanding there, and then meet me on into the next section where we will continue learning about fractions and how to work with them.